Welcome back, everyone, to Pandemonium_news. I'm Jace Kaplan, joined by the handsome Blank, as we're going to be taking a look back here at the PMGC League stage and see what our biggest surprises were, because honestly, there was a ton of them, Blank.
My biggest surprise right now is the fact that you call it Pandemonium_news. Like, are you obligated to say that?
I mean, there is an underscore, and news does follow right after the underscore. So
can you guys just not be Pandemonium News?
No, no, that's copyrighted. Underscore? It was taken by
is it?
Yeah.
That's unfortunate. Well, we're here at Pandemonium_news talking about our biggest surprises. Yeah, there was quite a lot of them. I think the initial surprise definitely was South Korea doing so well, because I think that we did kind of expect D+ to do fairly well. They have done many times in the past. I mean, Osal is kind of a crazy player on that team, but I think that DRX also throwing their hat in there at the top side was very much a big surprise for me, Jason. Like, South Korea doing so well overall. It was unfortunate that Mirin Sejong kind of fell off, though, because they were awesome in their approach to a lot of their games.
I mean, considering, I think, the lack of international play out of this team, for them to come into the group and start to dominate right off the get-go, obviously falling off later on as the group did play out.
Yeah.
Their initial center play worked really well for them, but then the problem they ran into was adapting in the tournament is something they really lacked. And then for DRX as well, I remember thinking back to PMWC with Kalaris there and talking about how, DRX, garbage team, king of the bins, like Maxman, no chance that they're going to ever do well. And then they came out insanely well there. They got a second place in groups and qualified directly for grand finals. I feel like South Korea, and I don't know what it is they're drinking over there, but they put out 3 insanely good teams that there's only a few regions out there that can ever kind of match that.
It's the coconut water, man. I'm telling you, really straight to the brain, that stuff. But yeah, it was a lot of big brain plays. I think that the aggressive nature that came through from a lot of the players on those teams was the most important part for me. I mean, Nolbu, that was the problem for D+ at the start, right? Was that they just weren't aggressive enough. And then Nolbu just started making these mad charges into a lot of teams. And at that point, the rest of the team either they lose or they follow. And I think that was a really good point where pretty much Nolbu dragged D+ kicking and screaming to PMGC Grand Finals, which was awesome to see.
It was him at the end, but I feel like Osal was the player in the beginning that really stood out for the team and really got them to that point. But then again, we look at teams these days. You have to have a team full of fraggers who can frag out. You have to have an in-game leader who can do that as well if you want to be successful. And speaking of successful, man, EMEA, my biggest surprise was how well they did, coming out first in every single group. I mean, I know they're a strong region, but when you're comparing them to Brazil, just saying Brazil, not Americas, SEA, CSA, I never thought they would be first place every group at the end.
Yeah, it's unfortunate brute force not going. But, they put RIP brute force. But they did really well. I think they'll do well again next year. It is a big blow, though, to the mentality, right? Not being able to go through to those grand finals. But, we've got an insane team that's going to be replacing them. 4MV, insane, really good, the best team on the planet. JK, something's wrong in that team. Something's fishy. Something's not going right.
Why?
They were a big surprise. What's going on there?
Why you got to do that to me, man?
Oh, sorry, dude. It was an unfortunate replacement, though, wasn't it? Really? I think that 4MV not getting in should have been like a wake-up call for 4MV and be like, we've got to fix our antics. But here they're like, let's get a free pass. But,
I mean, I actually had a free pass, and they didn't get much off of that, unfortunately for them. Let's see if 4MV can maybe bounce back in the grand finals. And I was saying on the desk, talking to Hot Jukes and Max, I wouldn't be surprised if 4MV actually do have a roster change after PMGC again, like they did last year with taking out East. Because this team, I mean, whether Doc is the problem or the rest of the teams are the problem or whatever, something's clearly not clicking within this team.
I don't think that the roster is the issue, though. I think it's the playstyle. Currently, the playstyle's all over the place.
Talking about playstyle or the playstyle of one player?
Well, it's the multiple, because they have this weird issue where they just refuse to give up reses, essentially. Where a Doc goes down, they'll give heaven and earth to get that player back up again. And I'm like, why are you doing this? It's not worth it. So currently they're on this very rough treadmill. And I think that either they get off the treadmill and start running out in the parks and get something new going, or they fall flat on their face. And I think that is it. That it is a big mentality change, big playstyle change required. Doc's a very good player. East's a very good player. There is awesome players on that squad, but either they're too aggressive and too confident, or they're not confident enough. And there's no middle ground right now. There is no middle ground for 4MV. And I think, in a way, they've given a chance now to prove to the world that they can play that middle ground, because I think it will be very important. And I'm still confident. You know what? We were doing our top 5 predictions. I was very tempted to put 4MV in my top 5, because I felt like, maybe there's a switch up. Maybe they can switch on going to the grand finals now. Because I think they were figuring it out towards the end. It was just too late, honestly. So yeah, there was a little moment where I was like, maybe I put them in my top 5, and they're not doing that. And I think no, I didn't. Okay. For correct reasons, I think, for correct reasons. But yeah, so that was a big surprise. And I think for teams that do get over aggressive, there can be things that just absolutely go wrong. For other teams like Void Donkey IT, who kind of went crazy, didn't they? Alongside with the Vicious. I think there were 2 teams that we just did not see coming. And for BTR and Indonesia as a whole, I think that, sending Void Donkey ID through to the grand finals, it's really good. It's really good for them. I think BTR did well, and it's great seeing Zuxi back on the roster, back doing well again. But for Indonesia, I think Void Donkey ID, they're a rising star.
But if I were to tell you before the league stage kicked off that only one SEA team was going to make it to the grand finals, would you have ever picked Void Donkey? I don't think anyone out there would have. No, I wouldn't have done. I didn't put them in my top 5 out. I think that there is that inconsistent streak in them that I'm worried about. I love the team. I love Defi as a coach. I think that he's made a lot of squads a lot better for it. But I don't think you can really put all the praise on Defi, because there's a lot of rookie players on that squad. And they have all turned up the dial to 11 in their games. And when it mattered most, that's when they performed. And I think that, that's the weird thing for me, because going into the grand finals, there is a chance, and it's not a small chance either, that they really take that pressure and they harness it in a good way, and actually get a lot done off the back of it, because I think that they're a team that's hungry. And I don't think we have enough hungry teams anymore. Team Spirit, I think that it was a big surprise that they got into first place. We're throwing out that phrase again, and I'm really glad for them. But for that team, I wonder if the hunger's still there for them. I hope it is. But Void Donkey ID, that's definitely the most voracious team going into grand finals. Yeah, well, for Void in particular, it didn't look great in the group stage initially, but it was as the tournament progressed, they started to get better and better, which I do want to give them credit for. That is a good sign when a team does improve over the course of an event.
Yep.
But I do also worry is that you're missing 9 of the best teams in the lobby, because they already had qualified to the grand finals when you got to last chance and survival, etc. So
I agree.
It's a lot of work ahead of them, but they've shown they can adapt. But can they do it in 3 days? I think that's the roughest part, is that the grand finals are only 3 days, which means you better adapt almost match to match, or you 100% better adapt day to day for sure. And one team who did adapt quite well was the Vicious. You mentioned them before, and considering they didn't even qualify for PMGC, for the league stage, they replaced Twisted Minds Brazil. How the hell did this team just slap every other team in the lobby? Like, it is ridiculous. None of them having PMGC experience, none of them having experience at this kind of level before, and yet they made it to the grand finals. I mean, if we talk about new blood in PUBG Mobile, we talk about the hunger. This is definitely one team who has hunger behind them.
Yeah, the Vicious was a crazy team. Absolutely crazy. Some really good plays. Very consistent overall in a big way, which is nice to see. And I think that's what you need from a lot of teams. I can't remember who the other team was. It was very similar, the way that Vicious played. Let's go back to PMGC League stage. Last chance. Using the powers of Google right now.
I know what website
here we
you're
go.
on.
Do you?
Wikipedia, of course.
That's right. Incilio.
I was going to say Incilio, but I wasn't sure if that was them.
Yeah, Incilio. I think those teams play kind of hand in hand in a way, because they're both they're final circle teams. So they play very well getting up towards those final circles. I think that both teams will struggle going into grand finals personally. They're similar, I think, not to mention, I think Void Donkey ID will also struggle that way. And I think it's purely because you've had this massive run up to the grand finals, and you've been working every day, you've been studying every team that you've gone into every single group from, but can you maintain that momentum now? Because some teams that went straight to the grand finals, they've just been able to analyze every single week and be like, what's this team doing? What's that team doing? How are we going to play around that? But you haven't had chance for that if you went to last chance. You really haven't. Only a few teams in there realistically have the chops to go straight into grand finals and do well off the back of that. I would say that's probably Falcons as well as D+, because those teams already have experience against those PMGC teams that they'll face later. But the Falcons getting 141 points, that was seriously silly, wasn't it? Let's be honest. I mean, let's just do the math on the fly here. Do you have the points they had on that
90,
second day?
Was it 98 or 93? One of those two, I believe.
It was a lot. I think that's record breaking. That's record breaking. And I don't think there's many better moments of it clicked. It clicked for a team. And I think it certainly did for Falcons. So I think you have to be worried going into grand finals, going against the Falcons, because they've come off a momentous streak there. And I don't think that they'll be letting up over in the grand finals. But I think a lot of interesting things happened.
And I think some teams really valued from playing in survival stage and last chance. Actually, some teams who needed the reps, like to kind of get the experience. If you were, let's just say the Vicious, somehow you qualify top 3 in your group and you go straight to grand finals, like you didn't get enough games in to like learn how to adapt into lobbies and to kind of feel out how all these other teams play at this kind of level and how the meta can shift, at the snap of a finger to copy you. So I feel like it really benefited. Like for instance, for me, Guild, just to throw it out there really quickly, I think they're going to have easily the toughest time because they played in EMEA and that's been it since. Like they have not, they would have done, I think, or would do so much better if they did play through league stage just to get the repetitions in, even if they're already going to the grand finals to experience this. And I feel like they're going to have a very tough time. But I don't think that's really going to be a surprise, to be honest, to most people out there.
Yeah, I think they were sort of in the cinema watching it all happen, and it was less of a spectacle and more of a horror for them, watching it all unfold, being like, we've got to go up against that and that. Yeah, I think it's a really good point you make. It's one that I've not really considered myself, actually, in the sense of, although going to survival stage and last chance technically is bad, for some teams it's a massive boon because you just get more time to work on things that maybe you're lacking in as time goes on.
It was Group Green, right? Every team from Group Green that went to survival stage or last chance qualified. And part of the reason might have been the fact that they were just playing 2 days before. So they were already in like the mix of things. They didn't have to warm up into it. And they were just straight back into the whole, group stage for them. So, there's a lot of ifs, ands, and buts and a lot of questions about what's going to happen at the grand finals. But of course, you guys at home, we are always interested to hear what you guys thought were the biggest surprises during the league stage. But of course, we do have only a few days until we get into the grand finals kicking off on Friday. If I'm not mistaken, Blink, you're going to be there, right?
I think so. Yeah, I think so. I've booked a train ticket. I think I am going. Whether I'm casting or not remains to be seen. I guess you'll have to find out.
Well, I hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure to tune in on Friday for the kickoff of the grand finals. And we'll see you then for some more PUBG Mobile action.